This is a tragedy in a community that is not familiar with what went down on Saturday, July 6th, 2024. What makes it even more difficult is we are at a stall. This was so random. I don't have many details to report that we have leads that we're able to really make concrete. We've worked over 100 different leads that have been sent in, not only just from the community via social media, but also called in. The victim's friends have called, and there's a lot of brokenness. I know that a press update is used for updated details, but of all the cases we have, this is an example of one of them that is not easy for us to give updates because we have few. We have an individual 33 years old whose mother had passed away. His dad's elderly. They found him in his home. Obviously, it was a violent death. And that's where we are today. We've had the luxury of other homicides where we've had a number of leads come in and we've had evidence that's there. And that's not the case here. That doesn't mean that we're not working every lead possible. We have a couple little pieces that were given out that have not turned up to be anything concrete. We're focusing on the family. The victim, Orhan Hasek, was a Bosnian national that had been here for decades. He graduated in the Detroit metro area. He was running a business out of that location. He had 2 neighbors that never had any problem. I checked the logs. The Fenton Township deputies have never responded to that location for any kind of calls, any domestics. He was a loner, and he ran a business out of that house. So I say all that to say that as we work these leads, and as all the other cases we work, we're going to follow through. But we're kind of at a dead end at this point. I know that's not what people want to hear, but we've experienced this before when we had the death of one of our employees last year. Sometimes you just have nothing, and you just got to just wait it out, and that's where we're at right now. I will assure the community that, again, there's nothing to be concerned about when it comes to, is there somebody out there that's going to target? The answer is no. We believe that although it's random, there was clearly some type of connection. We just don't know. So we're just going to continue to ask for help. We're going to stay with the family who's grieving, stay with the community who's got questions that sometimes we can answer, sometimes we can't. But we're going to ask you in the media and our friends that if there's something that you thought you saw or it was triggered again, this incident happened sometime between the hours of noon and 5:49 p.m. on Saturday, July the 6th, right there at the northeast corner of Thompson and Jennings in Fenton Township. We have no cameras in the area. We have no surveillance that allows us to see what happened in that time frame. And unfortunately, that's where we are.
I spoke with a friend of his, and he mentioned that he was a car enthusiast. He would buy, sell, trade.
Yes.
Any indication that this may be connected to the business that he was involved in?
So he did sell on Facebook Marketplace, but there's no connection that we can make right now that it was, a deal gone bad or a customer. I mean, that was his business. But we have nothing that links the two together at this point.
I know previously you had asked for surveillance video.
Mm-hmm.
Nearby. What would be
Right.
helpful at this point?
Anything during that time frame. But we also did a neighborhood canvas. We had detectives that worked that whole night. And again, I want to thank the Michigan State Police Crime Lab for being there processing the scene. There was little left there. It was in a garage area. But we've also asked those neighbors for, ring cams and deer cams, and they didn't have them. And it was in such an area where it didn't catch surveillance from any businesses nearby. That's what makes this case somewhat difficult. Very difficult.
Now that car that you were looking for,
Mm-hmm.
any leads on that? Is that not even
Right.
connected then?
So we're back to square one when it comes to the vehicle. That was one individual who gave a car description in a time period, and we had to put something out there, but we don't have a vehicle description that I would feel comfortable saying this is what we're looking for and this is why. It was a piece of evidence that at the time that's the best we had, but as I said, unfortunately, back to square one.
And you had mentioned too that you were working with an agency out of Detroit.
Yeah. So again, just like you covered the death of Kelly McWhorter, we cast a wide net. And so we have agencies all the way up north, down to Metro Detroit, since he's from that Macomb County area, Sterling Heights area. We've reached out. Sometimes there's little pieces of the puzzle that you may have just one or two and everybody else has some others. So I say that loosely, that we're working with other agencies right now. It's our case. It's our leads that are just, one at a time. And every time we follow through with one, it gets shut down. That just happened Sunday into Monday. And that's why, unfortunately, we're here at this point where I don't have great news to report for the family. I know they want answers and we just don't have them.
Do you know the last time that homicide occurred in Fenton Township?
Yes. The last that recalled was a daughter under Sheriff Tokarczyk worked that case who killed her father. And her name was Tabitha Maynard. And she got life in prison, and that was in the early 2000s. And Under Sheriff Tokarczyk was the officer in charge when he was a detective sergeant in that time period.
Is there anything else you can say about the crime scene? You described this as a very violent one. So.
Yeah. Well, there was definitely a shooting, and the scene was in where his workplace was. But again, because it was so big, it wasn't in an enclosed space. There was no cameras. We have a body and a scene, but the crime lab wasn't able to recover anything significant. That's why I hope people can sense my frustration, because I want to give answers and I don't have those answers. The crime lab wasn't able to give us detail. This was a very random, quick incident that didn't leave much behind.
Are there any factors that make this a particularly challenging case? Like
Yeah.
No surveillance video, things like that.
It is. The challenges are that you want something. You want to be able to walk down this path, and we just don't have that. We have a dead 33-year-old whose family found him that are devastated in a quiet neighborhood at a house where there's never been a 911 call, with no leads on vehicles, surveillance cameras, no fingerprints, no DNA. That's the frustrating part. But that doesn't mean that, we're not going to follow up any leads that come in. I mean, I thank the Fenton area social talk groups for all their questions about this, what about that? And we're following up with all those. And it may take time. It may take more time than what people want, but we're walking these leads through. And right now we're really not we're not there yet. Not there. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. Well, I appreciate it. I know that you're busy, and we will give more updates, and it won't be just to say that we're at the same place. Should we progress, you'll be the first to know. So thank you for covering.